Hey, I am heading home today and just started thinking that there are so many emotions when we've moved away and we travel home to see our family. And sometimes they can be mixed up. So feelings of excitement sometimes have the same reaction in our body as feelings of fear. And so we can get confused. That's one thing. Another thing that has happened to me in regards to going home has been a feeling of simultaneously, like, I cannot wait to see my family. I can't wait to hug them. It's been 2 years, which seems absolutely just unbelievable. Like, there's no way I can believe that. It's been 2 years since I have seen my mom, my sisters, and my nieces and nephews. And it's so surreal, but the last 2 years have been just incredibly busy while I've been finishing school, finalized a divorce, and started a new relationship. So those things all have been extremely time consuming. Buying a house, moving, putting it together, building a yard and a pool and all of these things. So before we know it, life gets ahead of us, I guess, is one thing. Like, we shouldn't should ourselves. That's what my old life coach Kendra would say. But I think what I really want to dive into quickly before I leave for the airport is this feeling of unexpected or ever-present kind of dread. So where does that come from? Like, you want to see your family, you want to go home, but there is a feeling of dread or doom or something. And I decided this morning, as I was kind of having these feelings come up, and by the way, they've come up so severely in the past 2 years that I've canceled trips to go home. So I've been pretty determined to keep them at bay this time, but they are coming up. So I have a simultaneous feeling of, I can't wait to see my family, and also a feeling of unexplained dread for going home. So I grabbed one of my favorite resources this morning. This is a book by Brené Brown called Atlas of the Heart. I'm a huge Brené Brown fan. I've read all of her books. This one really serves me as almost like an encyclopedia or a reference book for what's going on. So it's great. At the beginning of the book, there's a really nice table of contents that really highlights where you can find whatever emotion you're looking for. So in Atlas of the Heart, one of the main reasons Brené Brown created this book, I believe, is to give us a reference, because when we can name an emotion and identify it, it helps us work with it and just label it, express it however we're less likely to hold it in our body. Just naming it and understanding it, what it is, where it's coming from, can really, for me at least, I feel like it prevents a new trauma. It helps me get through really hard times and lean in. Oftentimes we try to avoid our emotions. So if we can name them, and even what Brené writes in here makes you feel so seen and understood, that you realize you're not alone. All of these things help. So I can't recommend this book enough. I don't want to call it a Bible, but it's like a major reference for me. And even though, right, I'm a therapist and I study therapy and coaching, I oftentimes cannot name my own emotion. I really need to kind of have a little guide. So as I was preparing to go home on this journey today, and I was starting to feel this simultaneous, I can't wait to get there and I'm excited, but I was also feeling a sense of dread. I'm going to say dread. I wanted to figure out kind of where that was coming from. I had some ideas of where it was coming from, but just really want to have the label for it. So Brene says dread occurs frequently in response to high probability negative events. Its magnitude increases as the dreaded event draws nearer. Because dread makes an anticipated negative event even worse, we often prefer to get the unpleasant things over with quickly. Even doing them sooner means that they will be more unpleasant, even if it means more. So she also says for anxiety and dread, the threat is in the future. So whatever it is, it's not something that's already happened. And for fear, the threat is in the now. So this is more of a dread. Okay, it's not a fear. So definitely describes what I feel. I'm dreading a negative experience. So what's the negative experience? The negative experience is additional guilt and shame for not going sooner and for it taking me this long to get there. And particularly dread of feeling someone else's sadness because I haven't been there and because I'm coming, they're happy, but when I leave, they'll be sad again. So something I've noticed about myself is that I feel other people's emotions very intensely. Also, I try to avoid a few emotions. Like I really don't like to feel sad and I don't like to feel angry. So it's very difficult for me, I think, to go home because I know that when I see my mom, it will be so joyful, but there is going to be some sadness too, because she hasn't seen me for so long. And she will voice that. And there will also be a lot of sadness when I leave. And so I think this is something that we often do. We avoid something that we want to do. We avoid people that we want to see in order to avoid the sad departure or the sad ending. And this is so prevalent in our world now. I see it everywhere now that I'm talking about it. We avoid relationships with people who might not be perfect because we think they're going to hurt us. We avoid taking a risk at a job because we are afraid we might fail. So from me in this particular instance, I've avoided going home. But what I'm really avoiding is the intense, overwhelming sadness that I know I will feel and others will feel when I have to leave. So it's so ironic that if I went more often, maybe everyone wouldn't feel sad, or maybe if my family were able to come here where I live more often. But I am literally avoiding it or have avoided it in order to avoid the feelings, which would be reduced if I hadn't been avoiding it. Can anyone relate? I feel like this is just like the story of so many of our lives. So what do we do? I think what I've done this morning is I have given myself a little extra care. I gave myself a little extra work time, got up a little earlier, and most importantly, I really leaned into a morning meditation today. That was a kindness and compassion meditation, knowing that it will be hard for me to see the sadness in my mom because she hasn't seen me for so long and because we'll be parting ways very quickly. It's a short trip. knowing that that will be hurtful and not harmful, hurtful. And, I have to go through that. Like, it's unavoidable. I am really just leaning into my own self-care, kindness, and compassion today. And that's it. That's all I'm doing. Like, that's all I'm doing. I'm eating healthy. I'm taking care of myself. I got a lot of sleep last night, so I'm prepared for flight or travel issues. And I'm just prepared for big emotions. And I don't want to avoid them anymore. It's not helping. It's making it worse. So this is, I think, an important thing for all of us to be aware of. Like, the more we try to avoid the emotion, the bigger and the worse the emotions are going to be when we have to experience them. And we're going to miss out on the good stuff. So the thing about going home and dreading the big emotion of sadness when I leave is that if I just keep avoiding this, I'm going to miss all of the amazing emotions in between. Like, those I haven't even discussed yet. What am I going to get out of this trip? A little bit of sadness at the end when I leave? Yes. But hugs from my sisters and my nieces and nephews, my brother-in-laws, my mom, joy, laughter, connection, love, all of those things are going to far outweigh the thing I've been avoiding, the sadness. So I guess the big takeaway here is that in order to give ourselves opportunity to feel love, joy, connection, warmth, get hugs, and be loved in return, we have to allow ourselves a little bit of sadness or a little bit of hurt or a little bit of fear. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes we have to have a lot of risk, of fear, sadness, heartbreak in order to feel and experience love and joy and fun. It's just part of it. It's part of life. So I'm going to let go of the guilt and the shame of not going. And I'm leaning into feeling excited about all the good stuff that's about to happen. Will there be a little sadness in the end? Yeah. But is it worth it to have all the good stuff in the beginning and throughout this trip? Absolutely. It's 100% worth it. Every minute of it. I can't wait. So this is just one of those things in life that we have to get through. And hopefully this helps somebody else shift their perspective the way it's helped me. And I'll let you know how it goes in my stories.